Imagine, you wake up on your 50th birthday, expecting a surprise from your family. But instead of a celebration, you find an empty house, cryptic messages, and a shocking truth. Juan Garcia, a devoted husband and father, discovers that his wife and children have left him for a luxurious vacation, with a secret that breaks his heart. Can he uncover the truth and find justice without losing himself? Juan Garcia woke to the buzz of his alarm in his Miami home, the morning sun slicing through the blinds. Today was his 50th birthday, a milestone he'd been quietly anticipating. For weeks, his family had dropped hints about something big. His wife, Sophia, had been cagey, snapping her laptop shut whenever he entered the room. His 23-year-old son, Diego, usually glued to his phone, had tossed out cryptic comments like, "You're gonna love what's coming, Dad." Even his 20-year-old daughter, Isabella, a college junior, flashed knowing grins and teased, "Just wait for your big day." Juan, a construction project manager who'd spent decades grinding to provide for them, figured they were planning a surprise party or maybe a weekend getaway. He wasn't one for grand gestures, but the thought warmed him. Juan's life wasn't flashy, but it was solid. He and Sophia had built a comfortable existence in their suburban two-story, though the cost of Isabella's tuition at the University of Miami ate into their savings. Just last month, Juan had wired Diego $4,000 to help cover the deposit on his first apartment downtown. It stretched their finances thin, but Juan saw it as his duty. "That's what fathers do," he told himself, shrugging off the strain. Still, Sophia's recent secrecy gnawed at him. She'd been whispering into her phone, brushing off his questions with a breezy, "Relax, Juan, it's all good." He trusted her, or at least he thought he did. The morning of his birthday, Juan's phone vibrated at 6:15 a.m. His boss, Ramirez, was on the line, voice tense. "We've got a crisis at the Riverside site. Pipe burst, equipment's down. I need you here, Juan." Juan groaned but didn't argue. Emergencies didn't respect birthdays. He called Sophia from his truck as he sped toward the site. "I'll be late, probably not home till dinner," he said. Her reply was distracted, almost dismissive. "That works," she said, then hung up. Juan frowned but shook it off, focusing on the chaos awaiting him. The day dragged on with backbreaking work, coordinating crews, troubleshooting machinery, and managing a flooded site. No one at work knew it was his birthday, and Juan wasn't the type to broadcast it. By late afternoon, he stopped at a liquor store, grabbing a bottle of aged bourbon as a small treat for himself. "At least I'll have something to toast with," he muttered, picturing Sophia and the kids waiting with a cake or a surprise. He pulled into his driveway at 5:53 p.m., the sky bruising purple. The house was dark, no extra cars, no signs of life. His gut twisted. "Maybe they're hiding," he thought, stepping inside. The silence hit him like a wall. No balloons, no streamers, no voices. The living room sat untouched, the kitchen empty. Juan checked his phone, 0 messages, no missed calls. He dialed Sophia. Straight to voicemail. "Diego, same." He texted Isabella, "Where are you guys?" No reply. Unease crept in, but he pushed it down, pouring a glass of bourbon and sinking into a kitchen chair. By 7:30 p.m., worry edged into dread. He called a local hospital, heart pounding. No record of his family. He tried Sophia's sister, Elena, but got no answer. At 8:14 p.m. Alone with his thoughts, Juan opened Instagram on a whim. That's when the world tilted. A post from Diego, timestamped 3 hours ago, stared back at him. His family, Sophia, Diego, Isabella, even Sophia's father, Miguel, beamed on a beach, cocktails in hand, palm trees swaying behind them. The caption read, "Family Vaki mode on. Dad won't even notice we're gone, lol." Sophia had commented with a laughing emoji. Elena chimed in with a jab, "Workaholic husbands miss the good stuff." Isabella, silent but grinning in the photo, looked thrilled. Juan scrolled, each image a fresh cut. Jet skis, poolside selfies, sunset dinners, all geotagged at a Cancun resort, dated 2 days earlier. This wasn't a last-minute trip. It was planned, deliberate, and he wasn't part of it. The bourbon burned in his throat as betrayal sank in. 25 years of marriage, 2 kids, countless hours of overtime to keep them afloat, and they ditched him on his 50th birthday. His pride stung, but Juan wasn't one to wallow. Vulnerability was weakness, and he'd sworn long ago never to look weak. He cracked his knuckles, jaw tight, and started digging. Bank records showed a $4,000 withdrawal, matching the exact amount he'd given Diego for his apartment. Coincidence? Not likely. Older posts from Miguel hinted at a family getaway, planned weeks in advance. Every detail pointed to one truth: they'd orchestrated this behind his back. By midnight, Juan's hurt hardened into resolve. He pulled up screenshots of their posts, saved call logs, and cross-checked bank statements. If they thought he'd shrug this off, they were dead wrong. Juan always had a plan B. Some called it ruthless, he called it survival. At 2 a.m., he stumbled on a bombshell, a hidden credit card in Sophia's name, racked up with $100,000 in charges, designer bags, spa days, lavish lunches. All behind his back. His blood boiled, but he channeled it, plotting his next move. They'd be back soon, and Juan would be ready. This wasn't about revenge yet, it was about taking control. Juan Garcia sat at his kitchen table, the glow of his laptop casting sharp shadows across the room. It was day 3 since his family jetted off to Cancun, leaving him to stew in their betrayal on his 50th birthday. The Instagram posts, his wife Sofia, son Diego, daughter Isabella, and father-in-law Miguel laughing on a beach, still burned in his mind. So did the $100,000 credit card debt Sofia had racked up in secret. Juan wasn't the type to sit idle. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. His first move was calculated. He dialed Marcos, a private investigator recommended by a coworker who'd navigated a messy divorce. Marcos, a wiry man with a no-nonsense tone, agreed to meet that morning. By 10 a.m. he was at Juan's Miami home, jotting notes as Juan laid out the situation, the surprise trip, the social media taunts, the hidden credit card. "I need to know what's really going on," Juan said, sliding a photo of Sofia across the table. "Start at the resort. Dig deep." Marcos nodded, promising discretion and results. "Give me 48 hours, he said, pocketing the photo and leaving Juan to pace the house. The waiting was brutal. Juan threw himself into work, managing the Riverside project cleanup to keep his mind sharp. But every quiet moment brought flashes of that beach photo, Sofia's laughing emoji, Diego's smug caption. By evening, his phone pinged with a text from Isabella. "Hey Dad, how's it going?" The casual tone lit a fuse in him. As if she hadn't spent days sipping cocktails while he was sidelined. He ignored it. An hour later, Diego texted, "Dad, did I leave my laptop charger in my old room?" No mention of the trip, no apology. Juan's grip tightened on his phone. He didn't reply. The next day, more posts flooded Instagram. Isabella dancing at a resort club, Diego belting karaoke with Miguel, Sofia gushing online about paradise, and escaping reality. Juan's jaw clenched. "I'm the reality she's escaping," he thought. The sting deepened when he realized not one of them had acknowledged his birthday, not a call, not a text. He was done playing the fool. That night, he bought a grocery store cake, lit a single candle, and snapped a photo. He posted it to Instagram, no caption, just the image of his solitary celebration. Let them see what they'd done. The response was instant. His phone lit up with messages. "Sofia, Juan, we're so sorry, we got caught up." Isabella sent a voice note, her voice shaky. "Dad, I didn't mean to hurt you." Diego tried humor. "Okay, Dad, you win the guilt trip." Even Miguel chimed in, gruffly calling Juan petty, in a voicemail. Juan counted 42 messages by midnight, each one a mix of panic and excuses. Sofia's final text read, "We're back tomorrow. Please, we need to talk." Juan smirked, pouring another bourbon. "Talk? Sure. On my terms." The next morning, Juan called in a personal day from work. He wasn't dodging. Ramirez, his boss, knew better than to pry. By noon, he heard the crunch of tires in the driveway. Peering through the blinds, he saw an Uber unload Sofia, Diego, Isabella, and Miguel. Their suitcases rolled noisily behind them. Juan let the doorbell ring twice before opening the door, his face a mask of calm. The air crackled with tension as they stood in the entryway. Sophia clutched a gift bag, likely a last-minute peace offering. Diego avoided eye contact, shuffling his feet. Isabella's lip quivered, on the verge of tears. Miguel, chest puffed, glared like he owned the place. Sophia spoke first, voice tight. "Juan, we were worried sick. We thought something happened to you." Juan raised an eyebrow, pulling out his phone. He opened Diego's post, the one mocking his absence, and held it up. "Worried? This says otherwise." Sophia's breath caught. Isabella's eyes welled up. Diego stared at the floor. Miguel stepped forward, bristling. "Enough drama, Juan. Let's sit down and sort this like adults." Juan's hand shot up, cutting him off. "Miguel, this is my house. Drop the bags and leave. You're not calling shots here." Miguel sputtered, unaccustomed to pushback. Sophia tried to defuse. "Juan, the trip was meant to be a break for us all. We got delayed and—" Juan didn't let her finish. He tossed a folder onto the table, stuffed with bank statements, screenshots, and the credit card records. "Before you spin more stories, explain this. 100 grand in debt, Sophia. Spa days, designer bags, lunches with your sister, all while I'm breaking my back for this family." Sophia's hands trembled as she flipped through the papers. Diego muttered, "It was just a joke, Dad. You're blowing this up." Juan's glare silenced him. "A joke? Ditching me on my birthday? Using my money? That's not funny." Isabella, voice breaking, tried to intercede. "Dad, we didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened." Juan's chest tightened. Her tears tugged at him, but the image of her grinning on that beach kept his resolve ironclad. Sophia looked up, eyes flashing. "You're always so focused on money, Juan. Maybe I needed more than your lectures. Maybe we all did." Juan's laugh was bitter. "More? You got your more with my cash, on a trip I wasn't invited to. Nice try." The argument escalated, voices overlapping, until Juan noticed Sophia's suitcase by the door. Something clicked. He'd seen her pack it days before the trip, secretive and rushed. "What's in there?" he asked, pointing. Sophia stiffened. "Nothing, just my stuff." Juan didn't buy it. He crossed the room, unzipped the bag, and dug through it. Beneath a pile of beachwear, his fingers brushed something out of place. A pair of men's socks, too large for Diego or himself. Then a shirt, reeking of unfamiliar cologne. His pulse surged. "Whose are these?" he demanded, holding up the shirt. Sophia froze. Diego stammered. "Maybe they got mixed up at the resort." Juan's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me." Isabella's voice trembled. "Dad, stop, it's not what you think." But Juan was past reasoning. He turned to Sophia, voice low and dangerous. "You've got 10 seconds to explain, or this gets uglier." Sophia's silence was deafening. Miguel huffed. "You're paranoid, Juan." But Juan wasn't listening. The socks, the shirt, they weren't random. They were proof of something bigger, something he'd missed for too long. He stepped back, pointing to the door. "Everyone out. Now." Sophia hesitated, then grabbed her bag, ushering Diego and Isabella toward the exit. Miguel lingered, muttering about Juan's tantrum, but followed. As the door slammed, Juan sank into a chair, the shirt still clutched in his hand. His family had lied, excluded him, and now this, evidence of a deeper betrayal. He dialed Marcos again. "Find out who she was with," he said, voice steady but cold. "I want names, dates, everything." Marcos promised to dig deeper. Juan hung up, staring at the empty house. The bourbon bottle sat untouched now. He didn't need it. His anger was fuel enough, and he was just getting started. Juan Garcia stood in his Miami kitchen, the silence of his empty house pressing in. It was the 5th day since his family, Sophia, Diego, Isabella, and Miguel, had returned from their Cancun trip, only to face his fury over their betrayal. The men's socks and shirt he'd found in Sophia's suitcase haunted him, their unfamiliar cologne a nagging clue to a deeper deceit. His 50th birthday, meant to be a milestone, had unraveled into a maze of lies. But Juan wasn't one to crumble. He'd hired Marcos, a private investigator, to unearth the truth, and now he waited, his resolve sharpening with every passing hour. Marcos called that afternoon, his voice clipped with urgency. I've got something solid, Mr. Garcia. Can I come by? Juan agreed, clearing his schedule. By 3 p.m., Marcos was at the door, a manila envelope in hand. They sat at the dining table, where Juan had once shared meals with his family. Marcos spread out grainy photos from the Cancun resort's security cameras. The images showed Sofia, unmistakable in a flowing dress, laughing with a broad-shouldered man in a bar. Another shot captured them in a hallway, her hand on his arm, their faces close. Juan's stomach churned. Who is he? He asked, voice tight. Marcos flipped to a social media profile. Javier Ruiz, 52, real estate developer. Went to high school with Sofia. From what I gathered, they reconnected a few years back. Marcos slid over a hotel log. Staff confirmed he visited her suite multiple times during the trip. A bellhop said Sofia called him by name, like they were old friends. Or more. Juan's fingers gripped the photos, his knuckles whitening. How long? He asked. Marcos exhaled. At least 4 years. They've met at that resort before, often when you were working. Staff thought Sofia was single, since you were never around. The words hit like a punch. 4 years. Juan had been funding family vacations, thinking he was giving them joy, while Sofia was sneaking off with Javier. He thought of Diego and Isabella, their silence during those trips. Did they know? Marcos added. I've got more. Credit card receipts from Sofia's hidden account show dinners, hotel bookings, even gifts tied to Javier's name. It's not just Cancun. There were weekend trips to Key West, Orlando, places you weren't invited to. Juan's jaw locked. The $100,000 debt suddenly made sense, not just spa days, but a secret life. He sent Marcos off with a nod, promising to cover any extra costs for deeper digging. Alone, Juan paced, his mind racing. The evidence was damning, but he needed to know how far the deception ran. He scoured Sofia's old emails on their shared laptop, finding encrypted messages she hadn't bothered to delete. One, dated a year ago, read, "Can't wait to see you at the resort. Miguel's covering for me." Juan's blood ran cold. His father-in-law, Miguel, had known, maybe even bankrolled the affair to keep Sofia happy. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was a conspiracy. By evening, Juan's anger had crystallized into a plan. He called his lawyer, Ramirez, a divorce specialist known for handling high-stakes cases. "I want to protect my assets and end this marriage," Juan said, emailing the photos and receipts. Ramirez was blunt. "This is strong evidence. Infidelity won't sway property division much, but her hidden debt and misuse of joint funds could. We'll freeze the accounts and file for divorce. Gather everything, bank records, Marcos's findings." Juan hung up, already pulling files from his safe. The next morning, his phone buzzed relentlessly. Sofia sent texts, alternating between pleas and accusations. "Juan, let's talk, please. You're shutting us out." Diego left a voicemail, his tone strained. "Dad, you're scaring Mom. Just call back." Isabella's messages were tearful. "I'm sorry, Dad, I didn't know it would hurt you this bad." Juan ignored them all, his focus razor-sharp. He drove to a locksmith, swapping out every exterior lock on the house. If they wanted back in, they'd have to face him on his terms. That afternoon, a delivery arrived, a small package from a DNA testing lab Juan had contacted days earlier. After finding Javier's belongings, a dark suspicion had taken root. Isabella's resemblance to Sofia was striking, but her features lacked Juan's sharper angles. Diego, with his lanky build, was clearly Juan's son. But Isabella? He'd collected a few strands from her hairbrush and sent them for testing, along with a sample of his own. Hands shaking, Juan opened the envelope. The results were stark. Diego Garcia, 99. 9% probability of paternity. Isabella Garcia, 0. 0% probability of paternity. The room spun. Isabella wasn't his daughter. The girl he'd raised, whose college tuition he'd scraped to pay, whose first bike he'd assembled at midnight, that girl wasn't his. The truth clawed at him, not just Sofia's affair but the possibility that she'd let him raise another man's child. Javier? Someone else? The question burned. Juan sank onto the couch, the DNA report crumpling in his fist. Grief battled rage, but he refused to let either win. He'd loved Isabella, poured his heart into her, and now that love felt like a lie. His phone pinged again, Sophia, demanding to know why he'd cancelled Isabella's tuition payment. Juan's lip curled. Let Javier pay for her, he thought. He texted Ramirez, add fraud to the filing. Sophia hid Isabella's paternity. Then he stood, straightened the report, and filed it with the other evidence. The family he'd built was unraveling, but Juan wasn't done. He'd face them soon, armed with the truth, and they'd answer for every lie. For now, he locked the report in his safe, poured a glass of water, no bourbon tonight, and prepared for the storm that was coming. Juan Garcia leaned against his kitchen counter in his Miami home, the DNA results still searing his mind. Isabella, the daughter he'd raised for 20 years, wasn't his. Sophia's affair with Javier Ruiz, her high school ex, had unraveled a web of deceit spanning years, funded by Juan's hard-earned money and enabled by his father-in-law, Miguel. The $100,000 credit card debt, the Cancun trip without him, the mocking social media posts, it all pointed to a family that had taken him for granted. But Juan was no victim. With new locks on the doors and a divorce filing in motion, he was ready to reclaim control. His lawyer, Ramirez, had moved fast. By day 6, joint bank accounts were frozen, and a court date was set for a preliminary hearing. Juan had handed over everything: Marcos's photos of Sofia with Javier, hotel logs, credit card receipts, and the DNA report confirming Isabella's paternity. Ramirez was confident. The debt and fraud give us leverage, he said over the phone. Sofia's infidelity narrative won't hold up if she misused marital funds. Juan nodded, his focus unwavering. He wasn't just ending a marriage, he was dismantling the lies. Sofia's texts kept coming, a mix of desperation and defiance. Juan, we need to fix this. You're tearing us apart. Diego sent a single message: Dad, you're acting crazy. Call me. Isabella's voicemails were softer, pleading: I didn't know, Dad. I swear I didn't. Juan didn't respond. Their words felt hollow after years of secrecy. He spent the evening sorting through old bank statements, finding more charges tied to Javier, weekend getaways, jewelry, even a car rental in his name. Each discovery fueled his determination. The next morning, a knock rattled the front door. Juan checked the peephole. Sofia, Diego, and Isabella stood outside, their postures stiff. No Miguel this time. Juan opened the door a crack, his voice cold. What do you want? Sofia stepped forward, clutching her purse. We're here to talk, Juan. You can't keep us out. He swung the door wider, letting them into the living room but keeping his distance. The tension was palpable, like a storm about to break. Sofia launched in, her tone sharp. You froze our accounts, Juan. You cancelled Isabella's tuition. This is cruel. Juan crossed his arms. Cruel? Like ditching me on my birthday? Or hiding $100,000 in debt? He pulled out the DNA report, tossing it onto the coffee table. Or letting me raise a kid who isn't mine? Isabella gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Diego's eyes widened, darting to Sofia. She stammered, That's not, Juan, you're twisting everything. Twisting? Juan's voice rose, steady but biting. For years, Sofia. You've been sneaking around with Javier Ruiz. Hotel staff saw you. I've got photos, receipts, everything. He turned to Isabella. And you, did you know? Did you sit there sipping cocktails while your mom played house with him? Isabella shook her head, tears spilling. I didn't know, Dad. I thought it was just a family trip. Diego cut in, defensive. Lay off her, Dad. We didn't know about any affair. Juan's eyes narrowed. But you knew enough to laugh at me online. Dad won't even notice. Sound familiar? Diego flinched, silent. Sofia tried a new angle, her voice softening. I was lonely, Juan. You're always at work, always stressed. I needed someone who saw me. Juan scoffed. So you picked Javier using our money. And Miguel covered for you. Don't play the victim. Sofia's shoulders slumped, but her eyes flashed with defiance. You're not perfect either. You're obsessed with control. The argument spiraled, accusations flying. Isabella sobbed. Dad, I love you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Juan's heart tugged, but he held firm. You stood by while this happened. Both of you. Diego snapped. You're not exactly father of the year. Always working, never listening. Mom needed more, and you didn't see it. Juan's fist clenched. I worked for you. For this family? And you repaid me with lies. The standoff broke when Isabella, voice trembling, dropped a bombshell. If you're so sure I'm not yours, maybe you're not the dad I thought you were either. The room froze. Sophia hissed. Isabella, stop. But the words landed like a blade. Juan's vision blurred with rage, not at Isabella, but at the life he'd been tricked into living. He pointed to the door. Get out. All of you. Until you're ready to own this, we're done. Sophia grabbed Isabella's arm, pulling her toward the exit. Diego hesitated, then followed, muttering, This is messed up, Dad. As the door slammed, Juan stood alone, his chest heaving. Isabella's words echoed, Maybe you're not the dad I thought you were. They cut deeper than he'd admit, but he pushed the pain aside. He called Ramirez, voice steady. Add paternity fraud to the filing. Sophia knew Isabella wasn't mine and never told me. Ramirez agreed, promising to expedite the case. Juan then emailed Marcos, asking for more on Javier's involvement. Find out if he's still in the picture. He wrote. I need to know what I'm up against. The next day, Juan drove to the bank, transferring his personal savings to a new account Sophia couldn't touch. He canceled automatic payments for Isabella's tuition and Diego's rent, redirecting the funds to a legal defense fund. If they wanted support, they could turn to Javier or Miguel. Juan wasn't their ATM anymore. By evening, Marcos sent an update. Javier had left Cancun the day after Sophia's family, heading to a condo in Key West. Marcos attached a photo of Javier's car parked outside a beachfront property, one Sophia had visited last year, per credit card records. Juan's mind raced. Sophia hadn't just cheated, she'd built a parallel life, with Miguel's blessing and the kid's ignorance or complicity. He sat at his desk, compiling every piece of evidence into a folder for Ramirez. The photos, the DNA report, the receipts, they were his armor. He wasn't sure if Diego or Isabella knew the full extent of Sophia's affair, but their silence during those trips spoke volumes. They'd chosen loyalty to her over honesty with him. As night fell, Juan walked to his garage, pulling out a box of old family photos. He stopped at one from Isabella's high school graduation, her smile bright as she hugged him. His throat tightened. He'd loved her like his own, poured his soul into her future. Now, that bond felt like a mirage. He set the photo down, locking the box away. The fight wasn't over. Sophia would face the consequences, and Juan would ensure the truth came to light. He wasn't broken, just focused, ready for the final reckoning. Juan Garcia sat in his Miami lawyer's office, the city skyline glinting through the glass behind Ramirez's desk. It had been 2 weeks since the DNA test confirmed Isabella wasn't his daughter, a truth that gutted him as much as Sophia's years-long affair with Javier Ruiz. The evidence, photos, hotel logs, credit card receipts, and the paternity report, had fueled Juan's divorce filing against Sophia. He'd frozen their joint accounts, cut off Isabella's tuition, and severed financial ties to Diego's rent. His family had branded him cold, but Juan saw it as justice. He was done being their doormat. The court hearing came fast. Ramirez presented an airtight case, detailing Sophia's $100,000 secret debt, and her misuse of marital funds to bankroll trysts with Javier. The judge, a stern woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, reviewed the documents with a frown. Sophia's lawyer argued she'd been emotionally neglected, but the receipts and Marcos's investigation painted a different story, calculated deception, enabled by her father, Miguel. The judge ruled in Juan's favor, ordering Sophia to shoulder half the debt and denying her alimony. Juan walked out of the courthouse, his shoulders lighter but his heart heavy. Back home, he listed the house for sale. Too many memories lingered in its walls, birthdays, arguments, Isabella's first steps, now tainted by lies. He found a modest apartment downtown, closer to his construction projects. The move was practical, a fresh start. Juan poured his energy into a new venture, consulting for small construction firms, leveraging his decades of experience. The work was demanding but freeing, a chance to rebuild on his own terms. He stopped checking Sophia's social media, deleted the apps, and focused forward. Diego reached out a week after the hearing, leaving a voicemail. "Dad, I messed up. I didn't know about Mom's affair, I swear. Can we talk?" Juan hesitated, then met him at a coffee shop near Diego's apartment. Diego admitted he'd suspected something off about the Cancun trip but stayed quiet to avoid conflict. "I should have told you," he said, staring into his coffee. Juan nodded, his tone firm but not unkind. "You're my son, Diego. That doesn't change. But trust is earned, and you've got work to do." Diego agreed, promising to check in more. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but a door cracked open. Isabella, though, remained distant. She sent one text, "I'm sorry, Dad. I don't know who I am right now." Juan didn't reply. The DNA results had shattered their bond, and her silence during Sophia's affair stung too deep. He learned through Diego that Isabella had moved in with Miguel, who was bankrolling her college now. Juan felt a pang but no regret. If Javier or Miguel wanted to play father, that was their burden. He'd given enough. Sophia, meanwhile, faced her own fallout. Javier vanished after the divorce hit the news, leaving her to deal with the debt and public scrutiny. Miguel's financial support kept her afloat, but her online posts, once brimming with paradise boasts, stopped. Juan heard from a mutual friend that Sophia was working part-time at a boutique, her pride bruised. He felt no satisfaction, only closure. She'd made her choices, and the court ensured she'd pay for them. One evening, Juan sat in his new apartment, sorting through a box of old paperwork. He found a letter Isabella had written him at 10, thanking him for coaching her soccer team. His chest tightened. He'd been her dad in every way that mattered, until the truth rewrote their story. He tucked the letter away, unwilling to dwell. Instead, he opened his laptop and drafted a business plan for his consulting firm. The numbers were promising, his first clients already lined up. Months later, Juan stood on a construction site, clipboard in hand, guiding a crew through a new project. The sun beat down, but he felt alive, unburdened by the weight of betrayal. Diego visited occasionally, their talks cautious but growing warmer. Isabella remained a ghost, her absence a quiet ache. Juan didn't hate her, he couldn't, but he'd learned to protect himself. The house sold, clearing the last tie to his old life. He banked the profit, splitting it between savings and a small charity for single parents, a nod to the struggle he now understood. As he drove home, his phone buzzed. A text from Ramirez: "Sophia settled the debt payment plan. Case closed." Juan exhaled, the final thread severed. He pulled over, staring at the Miami skyline, its lights pulsing against the dusk. For the first time in years, he felt like his own man, not a husband, not a father, but Juan Garcia, survivor of a storm he hadn't seen coming. The road ahead was his to pave, and he'd build it stronger than before.